Bloodwolf Arts Studio. Unleash the artist within. Welcome to Bloodwolf Arts Studio, and I'm your host, Mr. Moonlight. So today I'm reading my next poem in my series of collection of poetry, my collection of poetry, Volume 1, Autumn. Um, so this one is titled The Doom-Fated Kingdom, and this one was written on September 14th of 2011. So this one was kind of interesting. I had a lot of fun writing this one. If I remember right, this was written during harvest time, and I remember it seems like around this time was when I was still doing a lot of the formatting of my first book, and it seemed like this was around the first time, around the time when I decided that my first book was going to be Autumn. So there was a bit of that kind of stuff um, settling in there. And this poem was more written about fun than anything because this one isn't really based on like a life experience per se. Um, but this one is tells the story of grain because I grew up on a farm and harvest is always the big season. Um, Everybody comes together, works together. It's always been a great time. Like the hours are long, but then there's a big celebration afterwards, and there we have long hours. Everybody comes together to bring in the harvest. And I remember also around this time that I had it was after I had pulled back from working a lot on the farm excessively so that I could focus on my studies because I mean I was finishing up my last year of high school and most if not I actually don't think there was anyone in my family at the time that had actually finished high school up to that point. Like most of them had been pulled out of school or left school after like fifth or sixth grade to work the farm. Yeah, going to that school of hard knocks. Some of them afterwards like went through like some accelerated high school programs and or otherwise got their GEDs later, but it seemed like at the time that um, I was like the only one in my family that had actually continued to progress through school and made school a high priority. That was a big thanks to my mom. My mom really pushed that. She really saw the value of my education. Anyways, kind of going on about this. Um, but so I remember thinking about not how I was not out in the harvest very much. And I have quite the imagination, especially like growing up, I always loved like Legend of Zelda, I always loved adventures. And so this poem take the form of like a fantastically told tale of a kingdom that was always destined to fail, always destined to fall. It was written in the stars, it's the fate destiny, and it's the tale of the grain, where the grain, it's planted, it grows up, excuse me, it grows up and it's always destined for the harvest. And then as it grows and it prospers after struggling to grow, like the, the tale of actually growing this crop from the grain's perspective, obviously, then it's like the harvest comes and these monsters come out of nowhere. And it's like there's people in the past, the stragglers of the grain that somehow got missed during the last harvest. Like they've seen this before, and they have legends and tales of these beasts that rise every season, and that they're absolute monsters, and they come to harvest the kingdoms. Um, and then after everything's devastated, it's all done. It's like I don't know. It's like there was no way to escape this tragedy. And then it ends on this note of, okay, now these monsters have celebrated this devastation of their kingdom, and now they're celebrating, and then they're off to another kingdom. Which it's you can see at the tail end of the poem. I'm referring to the potato harvest that came. Now the grain has been devastated, and now the monsters move on to do something similar to another kingdom, and it's referring to the potato harvest that follows soon, right after the grain harvest, every year on our farm. And so I just really had a lot of fun writing this. A lot of my fantastical storytelling and imagination really came out, and I had a lot of fun writing it. And this one was actually the very first poem that I had shared publicly, if I remember right. And I don't think it might have been the year after, it was sometime a year after, because I got to the point where I was always doing something at the family reunions. They would do a program, and it got to be where people knew I was going to do something every year. I would sing most every year. Um, that's a whole other thing. But this was the first one where I took a break between singing because I did that basically every year after a certain point. And I decided to read a poem, and this was the one I wrote. And so this was, I think, the first time that a lot of people saw that I could write poetry. And I wasn't really afraid to share this one like all of the other ones because this one was very lighthearted. It was very fantastical. It was very, um, I suppose, classic. What people expect when they hear poetry. It's just, I guess, tells the story and it rhymes, and it's just something that's larger than life. Or I guess in the case of the grain, it's something lower than life. And I remember when I was up sharing this at the reunion, I was prefacing this a little bit, and most of the family that came, like they did not grow up on a farm, and so I prefaced it saying how this is like from the perspective of the grain. And I heard a number of chuckles throughout the crowd. I remember that pretty well. But a lot of people were just confused, so confused. And afterwards, I talked to some of the people who did not grow up on the farm, and they were so confused. They was telling me about their experience of this poem, and they were so confused because because if you don't grow up on a farm, then it doesn't make any sense. But it totally makes sense if you're growing up on a farm. So. That's this one. It's titled The Doom Fated Kingdom. Um, so it'll be stay tuned to after I'm done talking here to listen to that and tune in. Um, you can find a copy of my poetry books down in the comments section or the description down below. There's links to my Amazon where you can find my books. Um, so remember to like the video, follow me on YouTube, Facebook, Blood Wolf Art Studio, and you can follow me across my platforms, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok as Mr. Moonlight Rhyme. Until I'm able to fix the thing on TikTok or figure out what's going on, then there will not be any newer videos posted there for the time being, but everything else will just continue to stay here on this platform. So thank you for tuning in and welcome to my side of the moon.
The Doom-Fated Kingdom by Aaron Brown. Autumn leaves are all ablaze. The time of year has come when monsters roam the many lands, throughout every kingdom. The beasts, they come at time allotted. The villagers always know, telling their brothers, their sisters, their neighbors, of times the monster will roam. The beasts are seekers, you see, hunting for giants still taller. Villagers don't know that this is so. The tales, they never get smaller. The people live lives, only legends they know from survivors of slaughters so vast. telling new ones of sights they have seen, of kingdoms so great who have passed. Like people now dead, towns gone before, each kingdom the same's underway, who each always start, sometimes with more, with always no true difference made. Each builds a store their own little pile, hoping to calm savage times. Straining and striving, for rain they are waiting, to help them throughout scrapes and binds. They start to build when winter is spent, the flower it no longer rests. Times are hard, famines aplenty. They always still turn out their best. After times of hardship and toil, they prosper town across town. Greater they grow, taller they get. Surely you won't find a frown. Good times go, and go till gone. The people now old start to hunch. Time spent thriving, having no children, all grouped in a family bunch. Now old and wrinkled, the people now sad can see the dark times at hand. Seeing the first of a battle begin, the soldiers were ground into sand. Fear now passes throughout the land as they see the merciless beast. Sharp teeth so fast, mouth so large, it seems to enjoy the feast. Giants run the metal beast, flipping a switch here and there, pulling the people by hundreds they go. The battle, it never seems fair. Weeks go by, the battle is lost. They never even stood a real chance. The beasts now retire, back in their mire. The giants do an odd little dance. Yet somehow few do live on, only to see new beasts rise, and can only watch as other lands fall to giants who can't hear their cries. The cycle complete, sleep starts to come to those who survived their great fall. Winter's blanket is drawn, ancients now sleep, to dream of their life through it all.